This is Lynn Aliquity, and I have a podcast called Publishing for Professionals. And I have been really trying to grow my podcast, but because it's in the publishing space, which is really saturated, it's been extremely hard. Since I have joined Adam's group and have learned how to better advertise and better email market, I now feel like I have a chance of really growing my platform. I've gotten 100 new subscribers so far through his advice on advertising. And I'm super excited to continue to work with Adam with the email marketing and also the podcast coaching so that I can continue to grow my podcast this year.
What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's the show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you make more money, get more clients, and build a profitable online business. Pod Pals, today we're doing one of my favorite things to do. I'm going to shine a light on some podcast growth factors that you probably haven't considered. This is one of my favorite things to do. I talk about the SEO and the paid ads and all that stuff for growth, guesting, but there's some things that are impacting your growth of your show, of your audience, that you probably have not considered yet. So, and these are things that we can control. We can pull a few levers, we can flip a few switches, and that's going to impact your show and your growth in a positive way. And some of these things are negatively impacting your growth and they're stressing you out. So let's get them fixed, right? This is one of my absolute favorite things to do, especially inside my podcasting business school group coaching program. We're always doing this. I love doing like the office hours or our group coaching calls and just get those light bulbs popping over people's heads. Like, oh, we just had an aha moment. And, shameless plug, shout out to everybody in my group coaching program. If you guys want to explore that as an option, hit that discovery call link inside of the show notes or head to the main website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. Okay, so over the last decade plus of being a podcaster, I've learned through some positive and some negative experiences that there's a bunch of factors that play into podcast growth. So again, I've talked a lot about the name of your show, the keywords, the SEO, the paid ad strategies, the podcast guesting strategies. But I've got 10 things that are going to kind of be sneaky impact factors that we're going to talk about a little bit today. So hopefully you can switch things up, have a little bit more of a positive impact. The first thing I want to talk about is your content niche. And the simplest way to put it is with a smaller niche, this is really good for business. It's easier to get clients if you have a very small, specific niche, but it is harder to grow a big audience. That's the trade-out. All right, my health podcast was a weight loss show. That is a great big niche. I'm doing tens of thousands of downloads an episode, and it's just going crazy, and it's awesome. Podcasting Business School, if this was just business school, that's a big niche, but this is business school for podcasters specifically. That is a small niche. I get clients. Thank you to everybody that has, invested in one of my programs or whatever. And that's the trade-off. Like, this is a much smaller audience than my weight loss podcast. And sometimes that messes with us mentally because we just can't compare our niche to someone else's. So if you have a show that is about social media marketing for real estate professionals, you can't compare yourself to the influencer that has a health show. All right. Their growth is they're just going to be doing bigger numbers than you. And that's okay. You cannot compare your niche to a totally different niche. The growth patterns are completely different. All right. And again, reminder, small niche is good for business. All right. That's the first factor that you may not have considered, your content niche. The second factor, how many total episodes you have released. There's a couple of things playing in here. Obviously, more episodes equals more experience. I put up a post on Threads yesterday that the hook was, please do not listen to the first 100 episodes of Podcasting Business School, but the last 500 or so are pretty good. Go ahead and check those out. Like my first 100 episodes of this show were not my best work. So the more episodes you have released, the more episodes I have released, I've gotten better. If you're on episode 3, that's probably not going to be as good as episode 300. It's like anything. The more you do, the more you perfect this craft. I ruffle a lot of feathers on when I post on Threads talking about my one-to-one content, my editing rule. And so if it takes me 15 minutes to record this episode, I don't get more than 15 minutes to edit it. And usually I spend like 2 minutes editing it. That process looks different at episode 612 than episode 6. All right. I spent probably an hour editing episode 6. I'm going to spend 2 minutes editing this episode. Thanks to Descript. I'll hit that little AI button that takes all the things out that I want to take. I leave a lot of the ums and so's in there. You may have noticed. But yeah, like this gets better as we go. That's the first thing that plays into this factor. But also when you have more episodes, you have more opportunity for a new audience member to binge on those episodes. All right. If you have 7 episodes, and let's say you do run an ad on Overcast, or you're a guest on someone else's show that's pretty big, they could binge listen 7 episodes. If you have 700 episodes, it's a different deal. I have people that find this show. Shout out to anybody that just found the show, first episode, good one to start with. People find this show and they binge backwards dozens, 40, 50, even 100 episodes. I used to always have people that are like, I've listened to every single episode. I know there are a few of you out there, and shout out to the Podcasting Business School listening psychos that have listened to all 612. If you've listened to all 612 of these episodes, please email me. I would love to just personally say thank you. All right. So that's your challenge. Podcastingbusinessschool@gmail.com. Hit me up on that email. If you've listened to every single episode, please email me. I might shout you out on the next episode. Who knows? Let's do something. I don't know if any of you exist out there. Who knows? But that binge factor is a big deal. Imagine you do run an ad and people find your show. They binge listen 6 or 7 because you have 6 or 7 episodes, or they can just go crazy. That's probably a download factor of 5x, maybe 10x from that one ad. All right. So it's one of those sneaky things that we don't think about. A lot of times when I have people in my group coaching program and we're going through my podcast growth bootcamp, if they have less than 20 episodes, I'm like, let's hold off on ads. I want to get you over 20 episodes because, again, that binge factor is a real deal. We don't want to slow down that momentum because you've only got 4 episodes. Like, oh, I listened to 4, and then maybe they kind of lose momentum with listening to the show. I want them to be able to go freaking crazy. And for me, I like 20 plus episodes before we start running ads so that binge factor really plays in. So that's the second thing we're going to discuss here that you may not have realized was impacting your podcast growth. How many total episodes you have released. Number 3, your content release cadence. Your cadence. I do get preachy about this, but I want to put a little different spin on it today. Obviously, consistency is huge. If you're consistently putting out episodes, you will get more downloads. If you put out 3 episodes in a year, you'll get fewer downloads than the person that puts out an episode every single week. All right. Consistency is the deal. That's a part of this deal. Now, the other factor of cadence is the day of the week. And this is the thing that you may not realize that this is actually impacting your downloads either in a positive or a negative way. A lot of podcasters don't know this. But when there's studies that look at listener consumption, if your weekly episode, hopefully, if your weekly episode is going live on a Monday through a Thursday, it will get much higher downloads than a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday episode release, especially Saturday, Sunday. But I put Friday in there as well. Okay, so let me repeat that and let's talk about why this is happening. If your episode of the week comes out on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday, it will get a lot more downloads than a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Why? Okay, what's happening on a Monday through a Thursday? Just think about your own schedule. It's probably fairly set in like as a routine. All right. You get up, have a routine in the morning, get your kids ready to drive them to school. You drive to work, your workout schedule, all that stuff. And then all of that kind of goes out the window on the weekend, right? It starts on Friday. Like the variables start hitting, and then Saturday and Sunday are full of variables. As a parent to two very active children, one in high school, one about to be in middle school, all sorts of things going on. One weekend a day never looks like the next one. So when it comes to our listener consumption, we want to be releasing our episodes on the days when our audience's calendar is most consistent, Monday through Thursday. So if you're somebody that's releasing on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, try this. Just release it on like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and do that for a month. And I bet there will be a noticeable difference in your download numbers. All right. A lot of podcasters don't know this. That's why we're talking about it today. That's why you come here to get the good stuff, right? Next thing that's impacting your growth, the quality / impact of the content you are releasing. I mean, the goal, my goal, should be your goal, is to become the people's champion within your niche. We talked about being within a smaller niche. Okay, well, let's be the people's champion within that niche. How do we do that? We give them the good stuff. People kind of throw podcast guest suggestions at me. I'm not talking about the spammy pitch emails that I get 10 or 12 a day, but I have like previous guests or clients or whatever. And they're like, hey, you should check out this person. And if a client refers a person to me that may be a potential good fit podcast guest, I will listen to 5, 10, 15 of their episodes. I never say yes right away because it's got to be a good fit. But a lot of times when I listen, I'll say no if that person is just doing fluff content. It happens a lot in like the sales podcast niche. These sales educators, they've got great programs, and they're good at selling. So they get a lot of clients, but on their show, they kind of hold back because they know what they think they know is that if they give away too much, then people won't buy. And I've had experiences where I've had that type of person on the show, and I ask them questions and they give me responses like, well, we just don't have enough time to really dive into that. Like that topic deserves to be dove into on this episode. And they don't answer my questions, and then I can't air the episode. So how do we not do that? Like, my personal philosophy is I don't gatekeep my good stuff. I teach you what I teach my podcasting business school group coaching members or my one-to-one clients. The advantage they have for being on the other side of the paywall is that we can make all that specific to them, and I can customize the implementation to them, which really ramps up the process and the results. So that's the difference. So I don't hold back anything. And I feel like that's how we create high quality and high impact content. And that's why, when I go to Podfest or you guys see me out on the real life streets, like people are grateful for that. Or if you email me, usually we have email exchanges and people are like, this is really helpful. Thank you. And that's why I do this. All right. Next thing that is impacting your audience growth. And the thing that a lot of you are not considering, it's your marketing experience level. So when I started back in 2015, I had no freaking idea what I was doing on any of this stuff. Zero. I didn't know how to be a podcaster. I didn't know how to be a content creator. I didn't know how to do social media. Like, I didn't have an Instagram account. I didn't know how to create social media content. I didn't know how to do email marketing. I didn't know how to do a lead magnet. I had to learn everything. That's why I think it took me 3 years to make any money, because I had to learn everything. So if you have to learn how to be a marketer, it's going to take longer to grow. And, you need to kind of invest in learning how to be a marketer. We have to be able to promote. A lot of you approach me with a question like, Adam, do I have to be on social media to grow my audience? And I say, no, not necessarily. You can, use organic discovery, SEO, email marketing, newsletter strategies, paid ads, things like that. But I think a lot of you really want to ask the question, of, can I just put out podcast episodes and that's it? Will I grow? And to me, if I'm being honest, I'm saying no. Like, especially if you aren't using organic discovery SEO, which most of you are not, by the way. I'll keep being preachy about that. But you can't just put it out into the ether, not talk about it, and not market it in any way, not do ads, not guest on other people's shows. Like, that's a hobby, and that's fine. But if you're trying to turn content into clients, it's not experience level is important. And again, if you are learning how to market yourself, your brand, your episodes, it's going to take longer. For me, it was a 3-year journey. The purpose of this show, Podcasting Business School, is to help shorten that journey for you, so you're in the right place. Next thing that is impacting your audience growth, your marketing budget. All right. Again, this is a little bit, it's going to ruffle some feathers out there. I know this, but I'm going to keep saying it. If you have no marketing budget, it's going to take longer to grow. And here's what I know a lot of you are thinking. But Adam, my show isn't making any money yet. Therefore, I do not have any money to invest in growth, coaching, whatever. Here's what I did. When I launched my show in 2015, one of the very first things I did was I bought a program from a guy named Brendan Burchard. I saw a Facebook ad somewhere or something. I don't know. I saw him somewhere. Maybe I read his book. I don't know. And he had a course called Experts Academy. It was $2,000 and I bought it. This is like before I even launched my show. I was just getting the idea of podcasting going. And like, I didn't make $37 until year 3. So I'm way in the hole, but good news. I had a career. I owned a gym. I took money from my earnings as a gym owner and I invested it. It's called startup costs. All right. In this online entrepreneurship learning curve that I was going on. All right. I was invested mentally and financially to shorten that learning curve as much as possible. So you can't tell me I don't have a marketing budget because my show doesn't make any money. That's like a chicken and the egg thing. And let me tell you that it just doesn't work that way. Like, you don't wait until your show makes money to start investing in your show. If you have that strategy, it's going to take forever and you're probably going to quit before you see success. Spoiler alert. All right. So can you find, $50 a month that you can sock away until you have enough money to do an Overcast FM ad or hire somebody to help you with your marketing or something like that? All right. So that's another factor. Next one, whether or not you have a team or are flying solo. If you are flying solo, this takes longer. I know a lot of you are successful entrepreneurs and you have assistants and you maybe have a marketing team or a design team. I work with people all over the spectrum. Some of you are solopreneurs like myself. It takes us longer because we have to figure out how to do all this stuff. If you already have a social media team, we just plug them in and we go. That's one less thing you have to learn. That's one less thing that takes time to learn. And your learning curve is much, much shorter. All right. So whether or not you have a team or flying solo, that factors in. And again, if you're a solopreneur, there's pluses and minuses to that. I really enjoy not having the stress of employees. And, when I had my gym, I had 35 employees and that stressed me out. Like, I really considered that, I had to be successful because my success means those 35 people can feed their families. And that really stressed me out. So when I launched my online solopreneur career, I'm like, I'm going solo on this. And that was the right choice. My stress levels are much lower. But the trade out, it takes longer. Less help takes longer. That's the formula. Next thing, I'm not even sure I think we're on number 8. Yes, we're on number 8. I've done the math. All right, so the next factor, number 8, that is impacting your growth is whether or not you have a coach guiding you through the process. Obviously, you can listen to other podcasters like myself and go, okay, that is a person that is doing the thing that I want to do. I want to learn from them. And the next step of that would be hiring that person, whether it's me or somebody else. Again, investing startup costs in your business and your journey and investing in speeding up the learning curve. It makes a big difference. I hired a coach early on. I have at least one coach going on at all times. Right now, I've got two coaches that I've hired for different programs, different parts of my business. That's just a success strategy. That formula has worked for me again and again and again over the last decade. So I keep doing it. Number 9, whether or not you're networking with other content creators and making connections. When I started going to podcasting events, doing online meetups, just meeting other content creators and sharing ideas and networking, that's when I really started to take off. And it wasn't just about like podcast guest swaps and things like that. You just got to get in a room with other content creators. All right. We are nice people. We have great ideas. A lot of times we have too many ideas, and we can share those ideas with others. Like, that's one of the things I love about my group coaching program, is that it helps maintain my sanity. I have so many ideas for shows, for content, for offers. If I try to do them all myself, it's not going to work. It's going to drive you all crazy. It's going to drive my wife crazy. All right. It's going to drive me crazy. All right. So the fact that I can have clients come in and I go, oh, I've got this new idea. Do you think this would be a good fit for something that you'd want to try? Let's try it out. Let's do an experiment together and let's launch this through your business. And I love doing that. It fuels my creativity, but just getting around other content creators, sharing ideas, making connections, it also makes you feel like you're not alone in this. Solopreneurship and being a content creator can be lonely. You guys know this. Like, I'm sitting in my basement right now. My kids are at school. My wife is at work. Shout out to Marissa. She's a physical therapist, does an awesome job. And I sit here and I record content to you all, which is a one-way connection. I'm not talking to you directly. You're not giving me feedback live. It can get lonely, right? It can get super lonely. We feel like if we're on like a download dip or social media is not going well, we can feel like we're the only one. And that's tough. And I feel like that leads to a lot of us quitting. All right. But if you get in a group of other podcasters, or you go to an event like PodFest, which I highly recommend, you notice, oh, wow, like other people are struggling like me. Other people are now inspiring me. I see that person that's just a few steps ahead of me. I feel like if they can do it, I can do it. I've gained some inspiration. You can commiserate a little bit and go, oh my gosh, this client is driving me crazy, or I thought this strategy was going to work and it didn't. And you just find out that you aren't this unique person having this unique experience. So getting around other podcasters, other content creators, trying to accomplish the same thing as you, it's super helpful. Last one. I do touch on this a little bit, but I feel like I need to probably talk about it a little bit more. And this is the last thing that you probably don't realize is impacting your growth. The yearly podcast growth cycles. This is a thing. All right, there are two specific growth windows and two specific windows where your show the downloads take a dip a little bit. And you have to understand this so that we can use this to our advantage and understand, like, okay, during the growth window, we really need to maximize that. And good news, we are currently in a growth window. So the first and the best time to grow your show is January through May. All right. That's the first podcast growth window because we have consistency with the normal human schedule. All right. June and July and the first part of August, what happens? School is out. Schedules change. Vacations are happening. Lots of pattern disruptions. So that is usually a time when downloads tend to stall out or dip a little bit. June, July, and usually August. Then September, October, and the first 3 quarters of November, growth window. Why? The calendar stabilizes again. Kids are back in school. Vacations aren't happening. People are hunkering down, getting in routines, and consumption is happening on a regular basis. What happens at the last part of November? The holiday season kicks off. So end of November through the end of December usually is the biggest download dip. During that holiday season, it is chaotic. People are traveling. They are not listening to their podcast in the normal routine that they are. and that negatively impacts growth. So just understanding where we're at and, you know, if it's in a dip window, that's probably why. Now, do we still want to release content? Yes, because a lot of you don't realize why the big boost happens in January with our shows. A lot of you probably look back and go, wow, January, a whole bunch more downloads happened. Why was that? Obviously, new people are finding your show. That's a big, I'm searching to learn new things type of a month, New Year's resolutions, goals, things like that. But a lot of it is people catching up on episodes. So even though December is almost always my least downloaded month, across 10 years of context here, December is that lowest download month, but I always put out weekly fresh content, new content. I'm not doing like greatest hits episodes or anything like that. And I do that because in January, you all catch up. And that's a big part of that January surge is new people plus current people catching up on the December episodes. So like I have to listen to 2 episodes a week to catch up. And you see that in your growth. So that's why I don't recommend taking December off from releasing content because you're going to miss out on that rebound of people catching up on episodes. All right. So the bottom line is the journey to podcast growth is going to be a unique path for each podcaster. All right. I've given you 10 things to think about. Which of these levers can you pull to have a little bit more of a positive impact on your audience growth? Maybe you do 1 or 2, maybe do all 10. But just now you are empowered with this knowledge that I kind of wish that I knew back in 2015, 16, 17, when I was really struggling to grow. All right. So if these are building some mental momentum and you want to take things to the next level, like I mentioned earlier, I do have my podcasting business school group coaching program. Would love to discuss whether that's a good fit for you. You can get information on that under the coaching program on www.podcastingbusiness.school. You can also see that discovery call link if you want to talk about whether that is a good fit for you. Pod Pals, I appreciate you. I hope you take these. I hope you grow your audience and see amazing results. And with that, I'm going to send you off into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I will see you on the next episode.
This is Kim Stewart, host of the Book Marketing Mania podcast. And one of my favorite episodes of Podcasting Business School is episode 591, How to Make Sales If You Hate Selling. Oh, Adam spoke directly to my heart because I've always hated selling. And I was so encouraged with the tips he shared on that episode, especially. So thanks, Adam. I really appreciate all you do for your listeners like me.